About 2 years ago, Yacht Club Games released Shovel Knight, a wonderfully crafted throwback to the NES glory days. Earlier in May, Shovel Knight was updated to be Shovel Knight Treasure Trove, and I think it's the best version of the game yet. The main focus of this review will be on the newly added Spectre of Torment campaign, but the Treasure Trove update contains some new features that I'd be remiss to leave out. An all-new sound test has been included, allowing you to listen to the music tracks at your leisure. One of these new inclusions is a function called Body Swap Mode. This nifty little feature allows you to pick and choose the gender of the main characters in the original Shovel Knight campaign, now dubbed Shovel of Hope. In the end, it's purely cosmetic, but I find the function to be pretty interesting, and the gender-bent designs for all the characters are neat looking to me too. The biggest update, however, is the newly added Spectre of Torment campaign. We take control of the eerie Spectre Knight, an undead warrior who's been ordered by the heinous enchantress to recruit an order of 8 invincible knights to conquer the world. Or the continent. I'm not exactly sure what the scope of her conquest is exactly. All I know is that she's conquering stuff, and it's not good. As the story goes on, you get to learn more about Spectre Knight, his past, and why he's working for the Enchantress in the first place. I won't go into the details to save you from spoilers, but you really get to feel for the guy at the end of it all, and it's even better if you play the original campaign, so I would highly recommend playing Shovel of Hope before delving into this one. Spectre of Torment's graphics are superb, to say the least. Yacht Club didn't use the 8-bit style as an excuse for bland or uninteresting art. The backgrounds, for the most part, are colorful and vibrant, and the parallax scrolling adds a lot of depth to the levels. Another thing that I can't get enough of is the sprite animation. It may be inspired by the NES, but the animation quality on these characters are far superior to anything that the black and gray Dream Machine could muster. Now, I mentioned that I enjoyed the backgrounds, but some of them can be rather bland at times. Like, it goes from a nice and detailed landscape to a black void. It gives me better focus on Spectre Knight, to be sure, but it just feels like there's something missing in the end. The music is absolutely on point. Jake Kaufman did a wonderful job on the soundtrack. While we have some new pieces, most of the musical tracks are remixed or reimagined versions from the original Shovel of Hope campaign. The thing is, I actually like a lot of the remixed versions of the songs better than the originals. Maybe it's because I've played through the original story more times than necessary, but I get more of a sense of grandeur and atmosphere when the tunes play in concert to the levels. Speaking of, the gameplay is inventive and engaging as well. Spectre Knight is quite the agile ghoul. He can jump, climb up walls, and slash enemies with his scythe. If you jump and attack while there's a baddie in range, Spectre Knight will home in on the enemy in question, and either up or down depending on what your angle is compared to the enemy. Spectre Knight can also equip himself with a bevy of sub-weapons that add some options to your offensive game, or can just get you out of a tight spot, say if you miss a platform and a jump. You have the ability to choose what level you want in any order right from the get-go. It gives you a greater sense of freedom, which leads to greater replayability. The game's difficulty is, well, I'm not sure exactly how to explain it. The tutorial level gets you acquainted with the controls, introducing you to the set pieces that will be expanded upon later in the game. After that, however, the difficulty kind of plateaus in my opinion. I faced my fair share of challenges throughout the stages, to be sure, but no level felt harder than the other. Though in hindsight, I guess that can be considered a good thing. Since you can pick and choose what level to tackle, you most likely won't be thrust into an impossible situation. When playing through the levels, I never experienced any deaths that I considered cheap or unfair. Well, death in this game is more like a slap in the wrist, however. Instead of a live system like Mario or Sonic, you simply lose a chunk of the money that you've collected in the level, and it's not like it's gone forever. You can recollect it if you're agile enough. Pick and choose your money-grabbing escapades wisely, however. I think most of the deaths I've experienced, in all honesty, was because I was trying to regain lost gold. It's not always worth it, folks. Pick and choose your battles. At the end of each level, you'll face off against one of the 8 bosses. Some of them can be quite the challenge, making you pool together all the skills you've learned throughout the stage. There are some bosses, however, that just feel like back and forth games of happy slaps. However, I will say though, it is absolutely glorious to hear that victory music play after taking down a boss, even more so if a particular big bad has been giving you a hard time. Oh, that is glorious. To make a long story short, Shovel Knight Treasure Trove is something I highly recommend you check out. The art, music, and gameplay blend in perfectly. I have some issues too with the game, to be sure, but the positives far outweigh the negatives. It's $24.99 and you can find it on the Mac, PC, PS3, PS4, the PSV, the Xbox One, Nintendo 3DS, Nintendo Wii U, and the Nintendo Switch. Basically, the only thing that it won't run on is a toaster. If you're hankering for a good platformer, give Shovel Knight Treasure Trove a buy.